welcome to a brand new edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and we're, of course, talking some scary movies. Now, I know what you're thinking. It is not a Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is when our new episodes always go up on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, that's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And this is also not the Podbean location on Wednesday nights either. This is instead a Monday, if you're listening to this when it went up. Could be any other day, obviously, as well, too. But this is a Monday evening, and I have something special in store for y'all for the next couple months here or so. I mentioned that while we're also going to be getting back to our television watch parties here, we actually got one coming up tomorrow, October 12th. We are hitting up some great shows, including this season premiere of Chucky. So stoked for that one. It's going to be so awesome. But there were a couple shows. There was another show besides Chucky coming out that I was really, really excited for. And that show is CW's Killer Camp. Now, if you haven't heard of this show, the series revolves, or at least season one revolved, around 11 people who are dropped into an 80s inspired lakeside lodge where they learn it's not the summer camp they have envisioned, but it's a killer camp with a secret murderer amongst them. Now, the contestants are tasked with earning money while simultaneously trying to figure out who the killer is before they end up dead themselves. So, this show, which was originally aired on ITV2 overseas as a Halloween special back in 2019, CW actually licensed it because with everything happening in the pandemic back in 2020, as I'm sure a lot of y'all know, TV shows were kind of thrown in a bit of disarray. When lockdown started going into place, a lot of shows just kind of had to stop filming, basically. Some of them were still in the midst of finishing their seasons up, and so all these seasons got truncated and everything, and we lost a lot of shows to where the schedules for a lot are kind of off right now. Like, we've seen a lot of shows come back actually this year after very short turnarounds because they had to go and not only film the leftover episodes they still had to make up, but then start filming for the new seasons as well too. CW has a lot of that going on. And Killer Camp was a show they brought over to kind of fill the gap of some of these shows just not being available for them. So it aired summer of 2020 on the CW, and it featured 11 contestants, all from England, attending this summer camp. And the summer camp there, again, it's inspired by 80s horror movies. So, of course, we're supposed to have, like, we're supposed to see Friday the 13th in here for sure, as that's one of the more popular ones. But then you can look in a lot of other ones like Sleepaway Camp, or hell, even last summer, Fear Street. I say last summer like it's last year. Fear Street came out this year. The second Fear Street movie was also done there as a part of the summer camp horror thing. And the first season was honestly so much fun because I'm a big fan of competition reality shows. And granted, I'm very choosy when it comes to the ones that I'm going to watch. I have been watching MTV's The Challenge, originally MTV Road Rule All Stars, and then it was Real World Road Rules Explosion, I think it was. And then it was the $1 Million Challenge, and then it became Real World Road Rules Challenge, and then it just became The Challenge. I have been watching that show for 20 fucking years at this point. Love that show so much. Love the drama with it. It's not as good as it once was, but I've watched that. I've watched, a lot of MTV's other competition reality shows. And so I'm no stranger to the reality show format. So this was kind of right up my alley. But then we get a horror twist with it as well, too, which is just so awesome. Now, if you've never seen the first season is really interesting because it seems like, in my opinion, and again, I'm not going to really hit too much of the behind the scenes stuff with the show or anything like that. In my opinion, the first season felt like ITV was really trying to find their footing with the series and figure out what it's going to be. Because we've all seen reality series come and go super quick. Like, they don't stay long at all if they're not catching an audience. And I feel that they got a really good niche going with the horror reality competition format with it. But I think the problem with the first season was that it seemed like they casted it like a TV show rather than a reality show. So they were like filling a lot of tropes, I felt, in season 1 with some of the characters, to where it was pretty easy to kind of figure out who wasn't the killer and who was. And that's really the format of the show, is that all these people are competing for money. So they're going to compete in daily challenges to where they earn money that goes into the camper's bank account, basically. But they're competing against the killer, because one of our campers is actually the killer who's trying to take all of the contestants out. So the thing is, if they don't figure out who the killer is before the end of this season, the killer takes home all the money at that point. But if they do figure it out, they take home any money at that point that they've banked. Now, the interesting thing is that they did bring in a bit of a twist halfway through the season, through first season there, which we'll talk about a bit later. I don't want to spoil that because the show only came out a little over a year ago there. You can catch it on CW. I believe it's on CW Seed, actually. But I don't want to spoil what that twist kind of was. But the thing is, one of the campers is a murderer, but then also the camp itself has a murderer. That's right, Bruce. Bruce is the killer that haunts our campground there, having it out for all of our campers. And one of the coolest things about this show is the fact that at the end of every episode, after the campers have voted one of them amongst them out to basically be fodder for Bruce, we get this awesome produced kill scene of Bruce taking out the camper that was voted out. It's so good. It's cheesy as hell, but it's like 70s, 80s goodness with our modern reality show twist. Now, again, the problem with the first season was that because they were trying to find their footing so much, I feel like they gave direction to all the campers to say, you know, this is more like a paid gig. This is like a gig that you're just showing up for. Whereas season 2 definitely seems like we're getting more of the reality vibe, and folks are actually like just being themselves. Like, yeah, we have a few people that kind of fit a few tropes in there and everything, but we're really just watching a reality TV show that has the horror background to it. Now, of course, we cannot have campers without a camp counselor, and that's right, Bobby Mayer is back, folks, as our host of Killer Camp. He is our camp counselor, setting up our daily competitions, getting our camper elimination set up as well, and also telling us our wonderful ghost stories at the end of the night to see which camper is ultimately getting it from Bruce. Now, I've already said that the feel of the show so far is different. There's only been one episode, but the feel of the show is much different. It seems like, again, we're now getting more of a reality show vibe, which lets our contestants breathe and kind of be their normal selves and take this as a normal situation. Because it is kind of wacky. I mean, you think about shows like Survivor and Big Brother, and again, The Challenge, and you know what you're in for. You know what to expect. You know that a lot of these shows are very much like you have to be athletic. You have to have like the street, like the smarts and everything like that as well too to get through a lot of these competitions. But that's not really what Killer Camp is about. You know, if you're the person who's going on like the Amazing Race and things like that, this isn't really the show for you, because your athleticism does not mean you have a leg up in this competition at all. You have to be cunning, you have to be devious, you have to be smart. If you're the killer, you have to play this exceptionally smart, because the slightest thing that you do is going to be analyzed. And we got to see that in this episode. So, season 1, we had 11 campers, and they upped that to 13 for this season, which is a much better number, because I kind of felt that we lost a lot of campers super quick in season 1, to where season 2, it seems like we're going to stretch this out, because it was only 5 episodes. It was only 5 episodes in season 1, so I'm hoping we get a much longer episode order here for season 2, but it allows us to get to know these contestants way more, which was so awesome. And in season 1, we started off with their first competition to actually get to the camp, where one camper got killed by Bruce at the very end of the first competition. They didn't even get to the voting process. Season 2, we killed a camper off before we even got to the first game. We lost the camper right away. The show, we are not playing. Folks are going out right away. Right away now it's happening. But we got a chance to meet all of our campers, and we got some really cool faces, really cool faces showing up there. I have my thoughts on who I think is going to turn out to be to be our killer here, but we're gonna see if I'm right. So we met Lindy, and we met SJ, and then we met a whole bevy of other people. We met Sarah, we met Jada, we met Bella, we met Sean, we met Mora, we met Gabe, Basil, we met Lexi, we met Jordan, we met Valentina, and of course we met Clyde. Now, a lot of people have already taken those certain roles that you usually get on reality shows, and we can see that like that come into the head already. For example, Clyde is very much being seen by a lot of people, it seems, as like this alpha male character who's kind of leading the pack. But the difference is that Clyde is likable. Folks actually like him. Clyde seems kind of like kind of respectful, and that folks shouldn't really have too big of an issue with him. Versus somebody like Gabe, it's already been said by a couple of characters there. Gabe comes across like a bit of like a frat boy, like a bit of a dude bro and everything now. And he's nice, but some of his decisions have been setting off his fellow campers the wrong way. And he's been raising just a little bit of suspicion on himself. And especially against one person who accused Clyde and had kind of eyes there, Jordan, who said he was his biggest competition, which that is a reality show line right there, which does cast a little bit of suspicion as what was said in the episode on Jordan. Jordan's accusation of saying that Clyde is his biggest competition. It's only episode 1. Nobody was probably looking at you guys at all. It wasn't really happening there. And yet, he had the nerve to say that, which is very, very suspicious. And if you watched their daily challenge to earn money, their challenge here is to walk onto 2 beams. And these beams, they're not sturdy, they're slippery, they're very thin. You got to keep that balance, but then you got to reach up and you got to pull these animals down that are each worth a different dollar amount. And during one of Jordan's last runs, Jordan took a lot of time getting off that beam after he lost his balance. And remember, the killer is playing a game against these campers. But they can't be too obvious, because if the campers find out who it is, the game is likely over at that point. And again, I can't really go too further into that because it talks a little bit about season 1. But again, if the campers find out who the killer is, the game is likely over. So the killer can't give it up too much. But I don't know. Jordan seemed a little bit suspicious. I didn't see too much of anything in episode 1 that made me lean one way or the other. But in terms of who I think our killer is this season, and I am going to give up 2 guesses. And the reason why I'm giving up 2 guesses is, 1, it's the sequel. We're in Killer Camp 2, so the chances of there being 2 killers kind of makes a little bit more sense. That's just the way it works, folks. But then also, I guess I can't get out of it there. We had 2 killers in season 1. So I do think it's very likely we're also going to get 2 killers here. And my guesses right now is Mora and Basil. Those are my 2 guesses right now to who at least one of our killers is. Now, I base that off of nothing. A lot of this is really me just trying to figure out what seems likely to me. I do think Basil is likely just because, I'm going to put it out there, we're talking horror tropes, y'all. Basil is black, and that would be very unique in the kind of cast that we have to make the black guy the killer of the cast there. So that's the only thing I'm basing it off of right now. There's not enough data to say anything else until we get to the end of the episode there. And Mora, just because it seems like everybody has a look there. Everybody's fitting a character and a trope here for our horror theme that we're going with Killer Camp now. And Mora definitely seems like the young girl, very, very, very similar to Angela from Sleepaway Camp. And I don't mean the twist. Come on, guys, grow up. But very much in the sense to where maybe we're not supposed to suspect that Mora could be the one to do it because she seems just a bit too innocent. But it also seems very much like a reason why she would have to be the killer. I do think if we have 1 killer, I believe our 1 killer for sure has to be a woman. And if we have 2 killers, One of those killers for sure is a woman. Done and done there. Now, our first episode ended with the cast choosing, our campers choosing to vote in Basil and Clyde to go out into the wilderness to face Bruce and see who will return home. And unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but it was an awesome fucking kill scene. Now, unfortunately, one of my guesses was already thrown out the window because Basil was voted off in the first episode, and Basil got a Jason Voorhees style kill from our man Bruce. That's right. Basil and Clyde went out into the woods trying to figure out a way to get back to the campfire there, and Basil stumbled upon a middle of the woods ice cream shop, old school style. He saw some strawberries and cream ice cream, and then Bruce proceeded to lock Basil in the freezer. Basil froze, and then Bruce proceeded to just light him up with a baseball bat. It was awesome, and it shows that we're not fucking around here in season 2 of Killer Camp. We are ready to go with the brutality. Bruce is ready. You came back to his campground. He's got to show you there's hell to pay, folks. So Basil is out. And as we already lost another camper at the beginning of the show, we're immediately down from 13 to 11. After the first episode, we're down to the cast count of the first season. It is only going to get more interesting from here. Mora is still who I'm banking on being our killer or one of our killers, but we're really going to see where the show goes. Now, other things to talk about. I do think the daily challenges could use a little bit of work. Watching season 1, some of those challenges were interesting, but then some of them also just seemed a little bit too nonsensical. And I get that the issue probably is that the producers have to find a balance between, okay, this is not like our typical reality show competition, so some of these challenges aren't made for these kinds of people or anything like that there. But there are other ways to go with it as well, too. Lean a little bit more into the horror tropes. Like, trivia is always going to be something that's going to come up really well, but you could theme a lot of stuff with, like, horror movies and everything like that, too. I get the idea, though, that because we are doing this at a camp, that the idea is, hey, we're going to do a lot of camp-style games, because that makes the most sense here. If we're trying to make up these challenges, then all these campers are just going to play camp-style games, and that makes the most sense, and it really does. It really, really does to do that. I completely get how that works out, honestly. So the dailies, I'm really hoping for an improvement, honestly, in quality for sure. But the actual like immunity challenges are still a lot of fun and really, really tense. Today they basically played paint bow and arrow, like paint archery. They had paintballs on arrows, and they were basically playing in one-on-one competitions, trying to hit each other, and actually got incredibly tense. Some of the choices of who people got to pick to play against were very, very interesting as well, too. So I don't know. We have some drama brewing here at Killer Camp for sure. But y'all, this show is so good. It is on the CW Sunday nights at 7. Please make sure to tune in. We're going to be talking about this every single Monday here after the new episode airs on Sunday nights. And we will start adding Chucky to this in the following weeks as well, too. So we're going to be talking Killer Camp, and we're going to be talking Chucky as well. But that's going to do it for us today, folks. I want to hear if you're watching this show. Tell me who you think the killer is. Tell me, do you think we're having 1 or 2 killers this season as well? It's going to get interesting as we work out through this season. Anyway, that's all the time I got, folks. Watch Killer Camp. Watch Chucky. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.